something that's working out.
And we got it. And we got it.
We got something to talk about.
Yeah, we got something to talk about.
We got something that's working out.
Welcome to another episode of Unbranded. I'm your host, Darryl B, and I'm glad that you could join us this evening. Here we invite the elephant into the room, into the discussion, and have organic talk, unscripted, unapologetic engagement. We have to identify what's going on in our lives so that we collectively can respond to it. I have a very special guest with me tonight, and we're doing something very special. Tonight, we're going Skype. Yes, this is the first time that Unbranded is going Skype. So we're very, very happy. And this evening, we have Miss Rasha Patterson. She's the author of Stifled, Stuck, and Set Free.
Yeah.
Rasha, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good, all the way from California to New York. I'm
Yes,
doing well.
yes. We have, yes,
Thank you.
yes. Cali has elephants too, huh, Rasha?
Absolutely, all day. They everywhere.
Yes. So would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, as you said, this is a very, very special time for me, but for us here at Unbranded. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, Darryl B. I appreciate you, and of course our producer, who happens to be my cousin. So this is a beautiful.
You giving up the inside scoop. We're so glad to
Yeah,
have you too. Come
Look,
on.
let me tell you something. It's not even so much giving up the scoop. It's just being very proud of what is happening in the life of her and her ministry and the business and everything. So that piece about me is something that people know. Though, again, my name is Rasha Patterson. I am a survivor of a couple of different things. I am an ordained minister. I preach the word of God. And I live my life unapologetic at this point. You know, I've been saved by many things. I've been delivered from many things. And one of our topics today is going to be one of the things that I've been delivered from as it relates to being delivered from a situation. So I'll say that, not going religious at all, you know, but being delivered from situations is what I'm very familiar with.
Yes. And we definitely want to get to that elephant.
Yeah.
So my understanding, your elephant is domestic violence. This is domestic
Yeah.
violence and breast cancer month. And of course, we send our love, our prayers, and our support go out to both populations that are impacted and infected, which are us. Because whatever is happening is also happening to us, indirectly or directly. So please, let's jump in. Tell me about the elephant. Tell me about the domestic violence, how it has affected you.
So directly how it would have has affected me is in relationship. I'll say that. And my story is similar to a lot of domestic violence stories, though everyone is unique in how we handle it, who we are, and how we move forward from it, and how we allow for things to either settle with us, stifle us, or to keep us someplace. And there's a time period for, I won't say a time period. So some people have been in domestic violence relationships for a very, very long time. I would say for me, I was not in the relationship for a long time. There were some dysfunctional things that were going on before the violence actually happened. So there's always some sign of this person is capable of going someplace. And maybe I didn't think at the time that that would be his thing. Coming from the family that I come from, I was not afraid, you know, of having conversations, and it gets really hot, it gets heated, it gets heavy. Having a man talk to me in a certain way because of the type of men that have been in my family, I've never backed down from anything. So that wasn't something that I was afraid of. However, when it happened on this one particular night, what made it even worse was the fact that I fought back. And when I say that I've been delivered, I was delivered from that situation. It literally took me to be on the floor, covering myself up to ask God, please stop this. Please save me. And I don't know, in that moment, I was delivered. I mean, he literally stopped what he was doing. And that was when I was able to leave the house and get out. We lived together at that time. And it was very interesting because I felt like this is it, it's over. I actually did exactly what a lot of us talk about doing. So, I would never let that happen. And if it ever happened, I would leave and I wouldn't go back.
Right,
So
right.
I was her. I was definitely her. And I did just that. I left, I moved out, I never went back.
Hmm.
My mistake was I still had a friendship with this person afterwards because of the drinking that he was doing, and he and I being friends for so long prior to us entering a relationship. I was still there for him, you know. And because I was still there for him, I invited him to my home one evening.
Hmm.
And when he came over to my house, because he was having an issue with something totally different. It had been weeks had gone by, maybe about a month and a half had gone by. And when I invited him into my house, he was drinking. Well, he had been drinking.
Hmm.
And that is what triggered all of it again. So
Right.
now I'm in a whole new house. I did leave. Okay. I didn't go back. I didn't stay.
Hmm.
Got my own place, invited him over. We're talking about some of his issues. And once the conversation kind of flipped to us being together again, you're always here for me. You always support me. Even through all of this, you're supporting me. Let's be back together. And when my answer was no, I'm good. I'll always love you as a friend, then it took a turn.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
You,
it
you,
took a turn.
it definitely. I'm listening as you're speaking. I'm hearing
Yeah,
the cycle of getting out. Of course, there's the first step of awareness, the uncomfortability, and
yeah,
recognizing that there are a lot of potentials, or let's say I saw a lot of characteristics, but I overlooked them. And
right.
that's human. That's human. And we all end up going down that path, especially when we want to believe the good in a person that we would,
Absolutely.
especially after we have opened our hearts and we become more vulnerable, especially when we want love. We
Yeah.
tend to believe. And I'm definitely hearing, how you're expressing the cycle in stages, such as that it's a process.
Right. It's definitely a process. And when you talk about cycles, it's not something that I was unfamiliar with.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I was familiar with there being domestic violence in the home. As a child, I've seen my parents fight. I saw them argue.
Hmm.
And we either do one of two things. We either say, I'm never going to let that happen to me, and I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure that doesn't happen to me. Or you silently say, because we don't speak it, we don't we don't open our mouths and say, I'm gonna be in a relationship like that.
Hmm.
I'll be
Right.
okay if a man hits me, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Or
right.
I'll be okay if I'm the type of man that lets a woman curse me out and demean my manhood and hit me, because women hit men too,
Yes,
all day
yes,
long.
yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So it's not something that we speak it, but we internalize it because we grow up with it. So either you're the person that, nah, that's not going to happen to me, or I'm kind of okay. And, I see my mother stay and I see my father stay and I see them work it out regardless. And I know what it looks like to love somebody through their mess.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's a cycle that I picked up. And for me, going back to the type of men that were in my family, inclusive of my father, regardless of what I saw, okay, inclusive of my father, the men in my family are very strong men. I was told, you don't need anything from a man. If you need money, you ask me, you ask your father, you ask your brother.
Right,
Any of
right,
my
right.
cousins would say that to me that were older to me. And so I had strong men in my family.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
they taught us to fight. I was a fighter because I was taught to fight, to hold my own, to be flat footed in the street and be able to take whatever I needed to take. And so in me picking up my generation of the cycle, I knew that it would not be me that would be in that situation. I did not know that being in a relationship with someone who was an alcoholic, and I knew he was an alcoholic because we were friends. We went to college together.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I knew he drank. I knew what it was, but I never thought that
It would
he
happen to
would
you.
it would happen to me. And of
Right.
course, why would I think that you would do this to me? Not only are we friends, but now we're in a relationship. You know what I mean? And I know you and you know me. So
Hmm.
that's where my head was.
Hmm.
But the cycle is so set in us that we don't even know what we are tolerating. We don't know that we're tolerating it the way that we're tolerating
And,
it.
and, and
You
and
know,
really, how could we? How could we when we've been directly impacted by the images that we saw in our
exactly,
home, by the images that we
exactly,
saw in our community when we stepped out the door, when we went over to
right.
our friend's house? And this is the type of communication that we observed. How could it not be a degree of normalization? How could
It
it
is. It's
not
normalized.
be uh, not us not catching how serious and severe it is?
And you say how normal it is. It's very normalized because we'll leave our homes, okay, and go to our cousins' homes and we hear the arguing and see the fighting. We can go to our friends' homes and hear the arguing and see the
Right.
fighting. And we're like, look, let's just all go outside,
That's right.
you
That's right.
know?
So
But
Rachel.
it's normal to us. We
Mhm.
see it. So when we get into relationships, we don't know how normal it's been for us that we miss the fact that we're normalizing it now in our own personal relationship.
Exactly. So, Rachel, we're going to get ready to go to break. And I
Okay.
guess when we come back, we're going to talk about how to get yourself out of bondage. You are the Calvary.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll be back with you shortly here at Unbranded.
Hi, and thank you for tuning in for my thought of the day, where inspiration meets humor. Today's thought of the day: life is a journey, sometimes traveled alone. There are ups and downs, highs and lows, and quite frankly, it can get a little scary. But even though your road may seem a little rough and rocky at times, never try to walk in someone else's shoes just because their path seems paved and padded. Their journey is their journey. And the truth of the matter is, you don't know what they had to endure to get there. So it's best to just hold on, buckle down, and stay on your course until you get to your destination. Otherwise, you could end up really lost with a nasty case of foot fungus that could have been prevented had you stayed in your own shoes. I'm Cody James. Until next time.
Intimate partner violence is defined as physical violence, sexual violence, stalking, and psychological aggression by a current or former intimate partner, and is preventable.
Intimate partner violence threatens the well-being of millions of people and their families every single day. Intimate partners may include current or former spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, dating partners, or sexual partners.
Intimate partner violence can occur between heterosexual or same-sex couples. Some victims may suffer just one experience, while others endure violence that lasts for years.
1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men have experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetime. And 1 in 10 high school students have experienced physical teen dating violence, which is a form of intimate partner violence.
Intimate partner violence consequences are widespread.
It impacts physical and mental health. It results in billions of dollars in medical, mental health, and lost work productivity costs.
But the good news is that intimate partner violence is preventable. We have strategies that can help you prevent this problem in your community. We can prevent intimate partner violence by teaching safe and healthy relationship skills, engaging influential adults, working to prevent violence starting in early childhood, creating protective environments, strengthening economic support for families, and supporting survivors to increase safety and lessen harms.
Welcome back to Unbranded. I'm Darryl B, your host. Tonight's guest, Rasha Patterson, author of Stifled, Stuck, and Set Free, Domestic Violence. We were just beginning to make a shift in the conversation, how to get yourself out of bondage. You are the Calvary. Rasha, please continue.
So I would start by saying that how to get yourself out of bondage, you are the Calvary. It sits really, really deep
Mm,
because oftentimes we think that somebody is coming to save us. You
mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm,
if I go to a religious end and a more churchy end, we talk about Jesus saves and Jesus delivers, and I'm waiting on Jesus, and God is going to do something for me. And at the end of the day, we are the Calvary, which is why the e-course that goes to the book, Cycle Stuck and Set Free, is called You Are the Calvary. How to get yourself out of bondage. It doesn't say somebody's coming to save you. It doesn't say the Calvary is on its way, because we actually save ourselves. And we start saving ourselves by acknowledging that we need to be saved. Right?
Yes.
There is an issue.
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
And so before we took a break, you were specifically talking about in your particular life and experience, when you told the person you didn't want to be involved anymore, that obviously they didn't take it well, you became more in danger. How did you get out of bondage of that situation?
Well, interestingly enough, my daughter was there, but she was in her room. And when she heard the commotion going on in the kitchen, she was actually in my room, which was closer to the kitchen. So when she heard it, she came out and she saw that he was a tall man. He was about 6'5". And I'm only 5'1". And when she came into the kitchen, she saw him with his hands on my throat.
Wow.
But he had me lifted. So I was off of my feet. And when she saw that, she screamed my name. She said, "Mom." And that's when he dropped me. He put me down. Yeah, he put me down. And from there, I shoved him out the house.
So that's,
got him out.
that definitely was courageous. Definitely, have to be thankful for the intervention of a child.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know that's only one aspect of out of the bondage, because my understanding briefly is when you look at the bondage of psychological domination, domestic violence characteristics, isolation. How did you break out of those bondages as well? Separate from the friendships that the relationship had, the family, even navigating with the child. How did you break? How would you help or direct someone to be able to shift in breaking the bondage of those chains?
Well, I would say the first thing you have to understand is when you love yourself more than you love anything or anybody else, then you will continually think about yourself first. So I understood that I needed to love myself enough to step away because I cared about my own life. And because I had a child, there were just some things that I would not allow to take place around her or for her to have to be involved in. He was not her father, so it was not a difficult thing for me to decide to do. He was not her father. That's the first thing. Though she is everything to me. I chose to be a mother. I didn't have to be a mother. I chose to be a mother. And with that comes a responsibility of putting her first, oftentimes before me. And just to snatch back from the conversation about the cycles, it was intentional for me to break the cycle that I had lived. Having a daughter, knowing that she would become a woman and have her own relationships, I've been very cognitive of what I do, what I say, how I act, how I am around her, who I bring around her, who I allow to feed into her life. Very intentional for me, my relationships, because some of them become hers, and a lot of them have become intimate relationships with her. You understand what I'm saying?
And for me to jump in quickly, I think that shouldn't be brushed across lightly. I think every and all parents who are listening right now, they should be very, very conscious of the need to protect their children.
Absolutely.
Especially in any relationship, but even another relationship if the man or the woman happen not to be the parent.
Absolutely. Me choosing to no longer be with her father has something to do with what was best for her. Her father's a good person. There was no violence or anything like that, no love lost. It was just not for us to be together. Though my point in that is, if I decide to not be with my child's father, then I would very much so choose to not be with anybody else, because that's how important she is to me.
Right.
And again, children are on loan. I've always understood that she is not mine. She is God's. I'm the vessel. So I'm very, very intentional in what I do again. with her because of that, and for her because of that.
So again, let me jump in. So breaking the bondage of fear. How did you break the bondage of fear? Fear of people knowing that you happen to have been abused. Fear of the fear that forced silence on so many, women that are part of the community, and even men who are being abused domestically. How did you break that bondage of fear?
I didn't have any fear in people knowing, because I wasn't ashamed at all. I know that it's something that happens to all of us, and to be honest with you, I've been through worse situations, so I wasn't afraid to share. What I have also learned is, in my sharing, is how other people are blessed, and how other people come out, how other people are able to say, you know what, because you shared that, because you said that, and you were honest about it, I've been able to face what's going on with me. I've been able to talk about it now and get help. And again, we're talking about being unscripted and being unapologetic. I'm very unapologetic about everything that has happened in my life. Anything that has ever happened, I'm pretty transparent about a lot of things that have happened to me. So I don't think that there was a bondage in fear. What I had to break away from was loving someone and caring for someone, whether it was intimately or as a friend for so many years, breaking away from the friendship because it was best for me. And you had asked about separating from family and other relationships that were connected to he and I. It was for me a no-brainer, only because I understood that I could not be around him by any means necessary, to not give him any type of into me, to see where I was or to follow me or anything like that. So if it meant that I missed out on, dinner parties and gatherings with people that I love, I didn't show up. It wasn't for me any longer.
And I think we kind of know that that's the process that has to take place.
Yeah.
We have to disconnect for our own well-being and for the best interest of all parties impacted in this. Can you please do me a favor? What are the characteristics when you say you are the Calvary? What's the characteristics? Share a metamorphosis or a metaphor about the Calvary. What do you mean?
So we know a cavalry to be a team of people that ride in on these horses to come and save us. They come and they save the day. And oftentimes we keep that thought, that picture in our head when something is going on, like someone is coming to get us. And the reality is we save ourselves. And the first step is in realizing, like I said, that you need help and that you have to choose. So one of the first things is changing your mindset. There's the mindset of, I can do this, I'm strong enough, I deserve better, I want better. I am enough. And I love myself enough. And that's why I started with that, because we have to love ourselves more than we love anybody else. If not, then we're always considering someone else over what we need and what is best for us. So the relationship with ourselves, the love for ourselves, being intimate with ourselves, spending time with ourselves would be one of the first things that we have to do. The thought, the mindset change, it has to shift from this is okay to I need better than this, because I want better than this for myself. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy completely. And even if that means I'm with no one, then that's what I do. I move forward by myself. I move forward in what it is that I need to do for myself, without this person, without this situation, without whatever it is. Because if it's not violence, it can be a whole bunch of things. It can, we're in bondage from a lot of things. So we have to choose ourselves first.
Absolutely.
We are Calvary because we really don't have to wait for somebody to ride on in. It's us. So we choose it.
Well, I definitely, I get it. I get right where you're coming from in terms of the Calvary beginning in our mind, our thought process, being able to recognize real danger and plan a course of exit. I was thinking also about the Calvary, in terms of our immediate supports. And all we need to do is to break the silence by letting our loved ones, letting people in, community, church, connections that we may have, know what is going on. For a mother or male who's happened to be in a domestic violent, situation right now,
Right.
I think those are the things that we often have to champion, the aspect of reaching out, not realizing that you have to stay in silence, not accepting that you're going to be viewed and looked upon as weak or anything in that way. But before we get ready to close briefly, because I have 30 seconds, tell me about life after abuse.
Life after abuse is about staying strong and living through it. Because once you can move forward, understand that it will be an everyday process to continue to love yourself. It's an everyday process, and you will when you can move forward and you find the strength in moving forward, you have to find even the little things in your life that make you happy, that continue to keep you at peace. And when you understand that there is nothing that should separate you from your peace, that's when you begin to choose what is not going to be in your life and what you will accept.
Okay, so I wish we had so much more time, Rasha. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
We will definitely have to have you back on again. We want to send the word out to all women, children, males. Domestic violence is real. Please do not put your hands on anyone, especially in relationships. Know that children are impacted and affected as well. As I always say, be you, be your beautiful self. It's a sign of real wealth and true health. It's reflective of the innate goodness inside you that allows you to overcome the obstacles before you. The only difference is not easy being you. However, within you, you have everything you need to be simply beautiful. Be your beautiful self. And until our next episode, see you.